What's up, 5-to-1 Exchange? Welcome back to our Essentials devotional series as we continue looking at these classic Bible stories that you may or may not have heard growing up. Today we're looking at another individual in the Old Testament by the name of Rahab. Now, Rahab is an interesting character for a number of reasons. She's actually not an Israelite. She's a Jerichite. If you remember our story about Joshua that we did a couple weeks ago, Jericho was the first city that the Israelites, under Joshua's leadership, conquered when they entered the Promised Land. And so Rahab is a citizen of Jericho, and as the story unfolds, what we see happening is Joshua sends 2 spies into Jericho to scout it out before the Israelites come in to conquer it. Now, this was a typical military tactic. It was to gain understanding of the area they were coming into, to gain understanding of the city. And so Joshua sends these 2 spies into Jericho, and when they get there, they're scouting it out, and they meet a woman by the name of Rahab. And Rahab, once the spies are there, they start to kind of raise suspicions because they're asking questions and looking around, and the king of Jericho starts looking for them. So Rahab takes these 2 spies and she hides them in her house. And the reason she does this, she tells the spies, "We've heard of everything that God has done for you concerning Egypt and the surrounding areas." You see, the stories of God leading the Israelites out of Egypt and everything that happened during their 40 years of wandering in the wilderness has been brought to the attention of other people in the Promised Land. And so we see that these individuals, these people groups, are afraid of Israel and their God. And so Rahab says, "We've heard these stories of your God and what he's done, and we know that he is a true and powerful God." And so she says, "What I'm asking is that if you will spare my family when you come in, because surely God will give Jericho into your hands." She is that confident in their God. And so the spies look at her and say, "Because you've saved us, you've harbored us in your house, when we come, if you take a scarlet or a red cord and tie it outside your window, we will not attack your family. Your family will be spared." What's interesting here is we see a parallel between what's happening with Rahab's house and what happened with the Israelites' houses when they were in Egypt during the Passover. If you remember, during Passover, God had said, "Take a goat, kill it, cook it, and take the blood and smear it across your doorpost, and the angel of death will pass over your house." Now, the blood would have been red or scarlet, and now they're telling Rahab to take a scarlet or red piece of fabric, a red cord, and tie it outside the window of her house, in a sense, so the Israelites would pass over her house and not attack her family. And so Rahab hides the spies. She convinces the guards that they're not there, and they end up leaving. And once they leave, she ties this scarlet cord outside her window. Now, when the spies get back to Joshua, they tell her all that this woman Rahab has done, and they've they'll tell Joshua about the promise they've made that if she ties this cord out, because of the way that she has harbored the Israelite spies, that they won't attack them. And Joshua agrees. He says, "All right, let it be." So when they come into Jericho, he tells all the troops, he says, "But there is a woman named Rahab with a scarlet cord tied outside her window. No one is to harm her or her family. She is to be entered into the tribe of Israel, and she'll be protected by us. She'll be brought in and kind of, you could say, grandfathered into the nation. She's not an Israelite, but she's brought in and receives the protection of the Israelite nation." And so what we see happen in Joshua chapter 6 is the Israelites have come into Jericho. They've marched around the walls for 7 days. Last time they do it 7 times. They blow the trumpets. The walls come crashing down. And the Israelites enter Jericho and they siege it. They destroy everything in Jericho. They don't take anyone prisoner. They wipe out the Jerichites, with the exception of Rahab. And what we see happen in Joshua chapter 6 is this. It says, "Joshua said to the 2 men who had scouted the land, the 2 spies, 'Go to the prostitute's house and bring the woman out of there,' because Rahab was a prostitute. That's how she made her living in Jericho. 'Bring the woman out and all who were with her, just as he swore.' And so the young men who had scouted went in and brought out Rahab, her father, mother, brothers, and all who belonged to her. They brought her and her whole family and settled them outside the camp of Israel." And so we see that Rahab and her family are spared because of the faith that she had in God. Now, it's not the same faith necessarily as the Israelites. We don't know that Rahab believed that he was the one true God at this point, but Rahab did believe in the power of Israel's God, that he was going to deliver Jericho into their hands. And because of this, and because of her faith in this God, that he would do this, the Israelites spare her because of what she's done for them. And you see, in our lives, we get opportunities every single day to do things, and we've talked about this before, that might seem a little outlandish or a little crazy, especially when it comes to our faith. But when we take that step of faith, when we're willing to step out and do something that's difficult, something that we might get attacked for, maybe not physically attacked, but somebody might not like us as much, they might verbally attack us, What we are doing is we're stepping into God's story and opening ourselves up to be a part of what He's doing. You see, what happened to Rahab, because of her step of faith right here, believing that the God of the Israelites was going to deliver Jericho into their hands and harboring these spies, Rahab, this nobody woman from Jericho, ends up becoming the great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother of Jesus. She's actually in the bloodline of the Messiah because of this moment of faith right here. And you see, for us, we don't know that these small moments of faith that we take are going to lead to something much greater than we could imagine. Now, you and I probably aren't going to be in the bloodline of Jesus in that sense. We are adopted in, but we don't know how that's going to play out. Us stepping out like that, even just a small moment of faith, could have drastic effects on our story and what God wants to do with us. Guys, I hope these stories are encouraging to you. I hope you're beginning to see more of God's characters. He's utilizing various people throughout His story. And they're not always people that we look at and think that they're grand. I mean, Rahab is a prostitute of Jericho. She's not someone you'd look at and expect great things from. But God nevertheless brings her into His story and uses her in an incredible way. So I love you guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this passage. If you want to comment down below on our video, or if you want to message us on Instagram, just share how your week's going. Let us know how we'll be praying for you. We'd love to hear you guys. I love you guys. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you. Middle schoolers tomorrow night, high schoolers on Thursday. If you need anything before then, don't hesitate to reach out, and I'll talk with you soon.